Hey everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with Tformers.com, your #1 news source for everything Transformers. And for today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the new remaster MTRM-07 visualizers from Make Toys. This is an MP type toy. It's a third-party figure, Transformer figure, based on the Reflector character from the G1 cartoon. We've got images of the toy in both the robot mode and the camera mode on the front, and then on the back we again show various images of the figure with the accessories and everything, and some writing that I can't really read. Okay, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the toy outside of the packaging. Now, first thing you'll notice here is that I have him in his camera mode starting out. However, when you first take it out of the actual packaging, you'll find that the toy will be in its individual robot modes. But I've gone and transformed it in the camera mode, so that's how we're going to start off taking a look at this. And then I'll walk you through the transformations, transforming it from camera to its robot modes, and then we'll look at the robots. Now, the second thing you'll notice is I have Decepticon decals on this toy as they appear like in the cartoon. These are my own additions. I had a decal sheet, and so I added the Decepticon stickers. This is a third-party toy, so obviously it does not have the actual Decepticon stickers on it, but you can buy decals and apply them yourselves like I have here if you want to. Now, third thing is you'll notice that this is based on the Reflector as we saw in the original G1 cartoon, as opposed to the original G1 toy or what we saw in the comics, which was based on more the toy than the cartoon. I always prefer the cartoon look more than the toy. I actually never had the original G1 toy. It's one of the few original G1 toys I didn't have as a kid. But the toy itself was different colors, and the individual robots looked very different from each other. They actually had individual names. The guy with the button, I think, was called Spectro, and the guy with the flash, the one on the end with the flash, was Spyglass, and then the one in the middle was called Viewfinder. But for me, I always basically knew Reflector from the cartoon, and in the cartoon it was one person essentially, made up of three robots. I guess technically it's the first combiner transformer, but whenever he talked, he basically, they all talked at the same time with the same voice, and so he was meant to be like essentially one character. He just called him Reflector in the cartoon. They never gave individual names to the three robots in the cartoon. And in the cartoon, they all looked the same, or virtually the same, with some minor differences. And so that's what this toy is based on. So the color scheme is pretty true to what we saw in the cartoon. Maybe a little more vibrant with the purple, and the cream grayish color is definitely a brighter color than what we saw in the cartoon. It was more of a darker gray we saw in the cartoon. But otherwise, it's pretty much true to what we saw in the cartoon as far as the color scheme goes. Now, for the camera does have several features. So first of all, you'll notice the lens, and that doesn't really do anything, but it does kind of have some nice reflective green in the lens, so I like the look of that. You've got the flash up top, which is removable, and you can actually put the flash on either side. I've put it on the left side because that's how I believe it was in the cartoon. Same with the Decepticon sticker, but you can basically put it on either side. So you've got, on one side, you've got the little button, and they actually give you two of these. So again, you can take off the flash, and if you wanted for some reason, you can put buttons on both sides, or you can, like I said, put the flash on either side. The flash itself is just all solid black plastic. It actually comes with a separate piece that has the little slide that you put on the toy, so very realistic to a real camera. And so you just slide the flash in there, and it stays nice and tight. It has the little thing for tightening, but that doesn't actually work. That's just sculpted on there for looks. But it fits in the little slide thing pretty tightly. Now, the camera itself acts as a weapon as well, so it's basically a missile launcher. Now, this is something they kind of just added for the toy. I don't think you ever had a flash that worked as a missile launcher in the cartoon, but you can pop off the flash, and it's got a little target thing on the top. Let's see in the camera. So it's got this little target thing, and then it's got these red missiles. The missiles aren't removable or anything; they don't fire or anything, but it just kind of gives you that look of a missile launcher. And in robot modes, he can hold this as a gun as well, even though it's very big and looks kind of silly as a gun. But I do like on the camera mode how they made that a missile launcher. Now they also, for decals, have put like the little camera readings, like the battery level and stuff over here. Again, you can now. And you got some buttons here and stuff as well sculpted on. They don't actually work or anything, but they are sculpted, so it looks pretty nice. He's got the little viewer on the top. Now that doesn't do anything. It's got some green plastic, translucent plastic, but when you look inside there, it's just black. You can't see anything, so it's not like an actual working camera or anything. And one other thing they've given you is this added piece on the bottom, which you can just plug in. And basically it's a working tripod piece, so you can actually screw it to a working tripod. So I've got this little mini tripod that I'll show you. Now I don't recall, you just pop it in there and slide it and click it into place. Now I don't recall, him ever using a tripod in the cartoon. So this is just again something they kind of added for fun. But if you wanted to stick it on an actual working tripod, you can do that. In camera mode, he's about 5.5 inches in length, and he's about 2.5 inches in height, not including the flash. And then on the side, the width on the side is about just under 3 inches. It is a decent sized camera, too big to really fit in the hand of another transformer and another MP transformer, but they have included a miniaturized version of Reflector in his camera mode that will fit nicely in the hands of like an MP Thundercracker or something along those lines. So they do give you this little miniaturized camera for being able to hold it in your other Transformers' hands. Now again, you'll notice I added the little Decepticon decal to it that's not included with the actual toy. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to take you through the transformations of this from the camera mode to the robots. The overall transformations on this are not super difficult. However, you have to get everything lined up perfectly, really, in order for everything to kind of click in correctly. So that can be somewhat difficult and frustrating, especially when you're going from robot to camera mode. It is definitely easier to transform these from the camera to the robots, at least for me anyway. So first of all, you want to remove the flash. Now you can, if you want to, you can put the little button back on. As I told you before, it comes with 2 buttons. You don't have to. You can leave the button off. It's not instrumental to the transformation, but you do want to take the flash piece off. You want to disconnect the individual lens pieces, because those connect the whole thing together, kind of locking everything into place, really. And then you want to just flip apart the individual 3 pieces, and they just clip in. So they've got the little clip-ins on the side, and they actually have clip-ins on both sides for each pieces. However, because of the lens pieces, they're not really interchangeable. I mean, technically you could kind of attach them, but you'd have the lens pieces wouldn't fit correctly if you did that. So I don't know why they included the attachments on both sides for each of the side pieces, but those are there. So we'll transform the middle piece first. Now the 2 side pieces, basically the transformations are almost identical. There's one little extra transformation with the one with the actual lens piece on it, and I'll show you that. But otherwise the transformations between these two, the 2 end pieces, are identical. Now the transformation on the middle piece is a little different than the other 2. Again, very similar though. So first thing you want to do is you can just push in this black piece for the viewfinder, and then you can lift this green piece up, and you can lift this front end towards the bottom for this purple piece. Basically the legs just pull down, so you can extend those out. Oh, and one thing I always forget to do this. If you have the little tripod piece, you want to make sure that you do disconnect that before you start transforming it. So let me see if I can get it off there. Yeah, because that will limit transformations if you try and keep that on there. So, so you extend the feet down, and then you can just kind of pull them apart. Now with the feet, he's got these little back flaps, and you just push them up. And you can see these are the front of the legs. So you want to, you can go and extend the arms around. They just kind of pull out and pull down the fists. They're folded up. And then you want to just flip at the midsection. You want to just turn it all the way around. So now the legs are facing forward, the same as this shutter piece on his chest. So with that shutter piece, you want to kind of take your nail and kind of flip it out. It can be kind of difficult if you've got a little screwdriver or something. You know, that might make it easier. Okay, so I've grabbed a screwdriver, so you can just flip it out. Again, normally it's every time except for that one time it's come out pretty easy. But you want to pull it out and then push it down. Now you want to make sure this top piece you have to turn. There's a little slide mechanism. So, and you got to make sure you kind of, it slides. Actually, you want to make sure the screen piece is pulled up, and then you want to turn it, and you kind of have to get it over the arms. But you want the green piece to basically be on the front side. And then you just push it down, so now you've got your chest piece completed. You want to make sure your arms are turned correctly so that the elbow joints are facing so that it can bend his arms forward. And then all that's left is you just lift this piece up and you can see the head is revealed, and then you just turn it so it forms his backpack. And that's it. Okay, so the side pieces have a little bit more to it, but still fairly similar. So best thing to do is to start lifting these flaps up, and then you can kind of break the legs apart and pull them down. And this one is a little more difficult because you want to pull the lens piece back, and then you can pop the leg down. Now with the legs on these, and this is the same on both of the side pieces, you've got all these little flap pieces. Actually, this is part of his arm. I guess it came off. You got some pieces that are kind of fit loosely on it. I don't know how that came off, but that just fits on his arm. Anyway, you've got all these flat pieces that you have to kind of move around and get into position. So for his feet, you just push these pieces up so they form the feet. And then the side piece you want to turn down so it's facing, you know, long side along his legs. And then this piece you just flip up. And then these forward pieces you just fold forward so they complete the front of his leg. And then you've got these back pieces which you want to do flip kind of forward, and then you have to flip around and then close so they form the inner part of his leg. Now, real quick, I just tell you that there is an instruction sheet that they give you. Gives you a little diagram showing you how to transform it. There's no real like written instructions. It's all just pictures, but it does give you a little instruction sheet to show you how to do the transformations. Okay, so now you want to take this backpack piece and you want to kind of pull it up, flip it, pull them out. So they just kind of flip, and then you want to rotate it so it's facing upward, and then you can just pull the arms around, and again you want to adjust the arms so the elbow joints are facing forward, and turn the fists so they're facing the right way. With this arm, you got to be careful. You got to want to lift it up because you got to move it around this lens piece that sticks out. And then the arm pieces have slides, so you can extend it down. So you want to make sure you do that. Then the head, you just flip it around so the button goes underneath inside the robot, and then the head is revealed. Now this is probably the trickiest part with the side pieces, is you want to make sure that you basically what you're going to do is you're going to pull this down, and then you're going to pull the lens piece apart. And it's the same on both side robots, only the other robot doesn't have this actual lens piece, but otherwise it's pretty much the same procedure. So you want to like kind of make it so it's a long piece, and then you can flip this thing around, the lens piece, flip it around. But it gets a little tricky. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up making a little circle. We're going to basically put this is going to circle around the backpack essentially, but you got to make sure that you adjust it so that this piece on the figure is not sticking out. So that can take a little bit of finagling. Okay, and then once you have this black piece flat against the back of the figure, then basically what you want to do is you want to just kind of wrap it around, and then you're going to, as I said, kind of form a little circle and then attach it. And then once you have done that, then you can close basically these purple pieces so it covers the black pieces and forms the backpack. And then with this one with the lens piece, then, and this is the little extra transformation that the other side piece does not have, is you just pull it up, and you'll see there's a little clip on the back end of the lens piece, and there's a little hole on the backpack, and you just clip it in, and that completes his backpack. The other one is has just a purple backpack, so he doesn't have that lens piece. But otherwise, the transformations on these two are the same. Okay, so here's a look at the toy and its robot modes. You'll see that all three figures look very similar to one another. Now, in the cartoon, these two were identical, and then this one was a little bit different with I guess this was supposed to be the lens piece or the shutter for the camera on his chest. But these do vary a little bit, again, basically in the back. So he's got the backpack, and they all had, if I remember correctly, they all had kind of like backpacks like this. But with this toy, basically, because it's not very practical to do that with the transformation, they do look a little bit different from the back. So this one's got the lens piece for a backpack. This one's got the backpack similar to what we saw in the actual cartoon, and then this one's just got a purple backpack. But otherwise they look pretty much identical, a little bit different in the legs between the middle one and the two side ones, but otherwise, you know, very similar. And I like the detailing on this. I like the head sculpts. I've seen some people say that they think the heads are a little bit too thin, but I think they look pretty true to what we saw in the cartoon, so I've got no complaints with that. Now, in the cartoon they did have these green chess pieces, however they didn't have like the computer or the circuit board kind of designs in them like we do with the toys, but I think that's a nice touch. I like that. You've got the translucent plastic, and then you've got, like I said, the circuit board kind of design on each of the chests for this one, so I do like that as an added feature. In the cartoon they were just solid green basically. Each figure does come with an individual weapon. Now these weapons, though not identical, are very similar to what the original G1 toy came with. So I think that's what they're supposed to be modeled after. Now they have you can hold them in either hand, they can hold them in either hand, and they have the little like peg system like you typically see with an MP, where there's the little slit in the hands. Now on these they're actually on the back as opposed to the side, but they do fit in nice and tight. So I think the gun with the circular piece, I think, is supposed to go to the middle guy. And then I think this gun, which has got the little magazine on the side, And the little magazine on the bottom, I think, is supposed to go to the one with the lens. At least that's, I think, how the original toy matched them up. I don't think in the cartoon they actually, I don't recall ever seeing them with actual guns, so I don't think they actually had guns in the original cartoon. So I mean, they'll fit in either, you know, any of the guns will fit in any of the hands, so you can match them up however you want. But I think this is how they kind of matched up based on the original toy, if I remember correctly. And again, as I mentioned, you'll see I've got the Decepticon decals on each of their shoulders, and that's something I added, is not included with the toy. And as I mentioned before, if you want, you can also use the Flash as an actual weapon. They've got a little clip, a handle with a little clip. So again, to me, it looks a little too big and kind of silly, but you can actually get it in their hands, and then you can just pop it open, so it's like a missile launcher. Okay, one last feature that this figure has is it has removable faceplates for each of the figures. Now, the faceplates that come with each figure are identical, but then they give you 3 extra ones with different expressions. So you get one with a smiley face, and then you have one with kind of a sad, I'd call that a sad face, and then one that's kind of like a panicked type face. And basically the way it works, and it can be, if you have a pair of tweezers or something, it can make it easier, but you can, if you have long fingernails, you can kind of pry out the face and just pop it off, and then just plug in the new face with a different expression. So if you want to give your robots different expressions, you can do that, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the figures in the robot mode stand at about 6.5 inches tall. So they are in pretty good scale with your MP transformers. So, you know, the Reflector wasn't as short as, like, say, the cassettes, like Soundwave's cassettes, like Rumble and Frenzy. But they were, besides the cassettes, they probably were the shortest Decepticons, at least in the original group. So here's a comparison next to, like, Thundercracker, and you can see Thundercracker is a bit taller, as he should be, whereas opposed to next to Rumble or Frenzy, whatever you want to call it. Cartoon blue was Rumble and the toy was Frenzy, but you can see that you know, the cassettes are definitely shorter. And then just for one more comparison, here's next to, like, Autobot Prowl, Masterpiece Prowl, and you can see they're about the same height. So overall, I would say the scale's pretty good with this. Okay, so articulation on these is pretty similar across the board. It's pretty decent on all 3. There's a little bit difference between the middle one and the 2 end ones, basically with the knees and the ankles. But otherwise, it's pretty much identical. So with the head on these, you can look left and right. Now the middle one really doesn't have a whole lot of up or down movement, a little bit, but not a whole lot. The side ones have a little bit more with the up or down. Again, not drastic, but a little bit more than the middle robot. You can also kind of pivot the heads to the left and the right with these. Arms, good rotation on all 3. You can get the arms all the way out on all 3. Has bending, pretty good bending at the elbow for all 3. Now, one thing, you want to make sure you get the arms completely extended. They kind of slide out, so you want to make sure you have them completely extended when you're transforming it. The wrists, swivels, and then the fingers are articulated, so you know they can swing back and forth. They're all the fingers are stuck together, and the thumb is not articulated. So there's a midsection joint on, or a swivel at the midsection. Now with the middle one, to get it good rotation, you want to pop this back piece up a little bit. And you can get the legs forward good, and you can get the legs back. Now again, on the middle one, you want to pop this piece up if you want to get the leg back. And they can do the splits pretty good. Now the knee joint, again, this is where they differ the most between the 2 end ones and the middle one, is it has a much more bending at the knee, almost like a double hinge joint type bend. So good bending at the knee with that one. With these, not as much. And with the waist swivel on these, especially the one with the purple backpack, a little bit more restricted. You can't really pop the backpack up on this one, so it's a little bit more restricted. Same with this one. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And then again, the knee, you don't get as much bending. Now with these, with the end ones, you do get more ankle pivot. You can kind of pull the ankle down, and so you get much more ankle pivot. And you can swivel it out and stuff, so you get a little bit more movement on the end ones with the ankle, as opposed to the middle one, which really doesn't have the ability to pull it down at all. So it's not as much movement there at the ankle. Okay, that's my review. Overall, I like this toy. I don't buy a whole lot of third-party Transformer toys. Normally, I just prefer to wait for the official releases from Takara and Hasbro. My feeling was that, you know, I'm not really sure we'll ever get an official release of Reflector, since we barely got one in the original toy line. I just kind of felt like probably not a good chance we'll see an official release of Reflector in the Masterpiece line, at least no time soon. And I kind of wanted to round out, you know, my original Decepticon team, you know, the Decepticons that appeared in the first, you know, miniseries and everything. At least the ones came to Earth. I don't have Shockwave. I haven't bought a third-party Shockwave, and obviously Takara hasn't done a Shockwave. But you know, for the ones that landed on Earth, you know, I now basically have my complete Decepticon team with the addition of Reflector. And I think this is a nice toy. I like the features. Articulation's good. I think they look pretty true to what we saw in the cartoon. A little bit variation with the colors, with a little bit vibrant colors, but overall I think, you know, definitely looks good, and scale-wise fits in nicely with the Masterpieces. So you can get this toy at basically places that sell third-party Transformers, like Big Bad Toy Store. That's where I got mine. And we'll have a full gallery of images up at toynewseye.com. There's a link in the description below. And as always, you know, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later.